Hello, welcome back to Brent's Prime Food Adventures. I'm Brent. This is Greg Nott. We're at the Memphis Bison Ranch in Carr, Colorado, and we are talking about bison. We're continuing to talk about bison. Our conversation in this particular episode is going to talk about the nutritional benefits of bison, not just any bison, because there's commercially raised bison too, but in particular the bison that are raised by Greg here at the Memphis Bison Ranch. I have a list here of items that we could talk about or that we discussed in advance. And we're going to go through it. I'm going to do the cue here, guys. Don't mind me. I'm going to cue Greg, and if we miss anything, I'll chime in as well. But we are going to talk, as we're talking about discussing the nutritional benefits of bison from the Memphis Bison Ranch. Tell me the name of the brand again, the other name, Primal Bison.
Primal Bison.
Primal Bison, okay, the brand name of the product. We're going to start with bison as a lean protein. So what does that mean to you? Explain what that means.
Bison is naturally leaner than beef or pork or some of the other options, but ours is 100% grass-fed, which makes it even leaner than a grain-finished product.
True. So I know this again from my my business knowledge running a gourmet meat market. The grain-finished it makes for a more fattier product. So we're doing, it's not just bison here. We're doing grass-fed,
grass-finished,
grass-only bison.
Grass only,
Okay.
from start to finish.
And we're lean protein we're talking about. So here we go. Bison is not just a leaner cut than many, really all the proteins that are out there. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. It's also grass-fed only. This is going to give it even more of a leaner profile.
That's right.
So I interrupted. Go ahead when we talk about the lean protein or anything else you have to add about that. Calories. I will say that Greg has given me, I'm going to do a better picture of this so that everyone will see it. But this is why bison is better. This is very specific to the nutrition nutritional benefits of bison. And I'm going to take a picture of this, and then we're going to go ahead and show it as well, both sides on the screen. We might even put it over while we're talking. So there'll be some more information on this particular card about nutritional benefits that you'll be seeing as well. Okay, so higher in protein, lower in calories, lower in fat, saturated fat.
Here we are.
That's all I got.
Those are critical things. You know, one of the popular items nowadays is the Wagyu beef.
Yeah.
Which is very high in fat. If you like that, fantastic. There are people looking for a leaner product, and bison is a great choice for that. It has a very delicious flavor. It is not at all gamey that most people assume that it is, and it is not.
How about the nutrients? My notes, what we discussed, you're rich in iron, zinc, B vitamins, particularly B12, essential nutrients in bison.
It is a very nutrient-dense meat, so you are getting more nutrients per bite, if you will.
Yeah.
And then we also mentioned that if you want to take that a step further, the organ meats are very, very dense, and you can overdo it on those. So what we've done, a lot of people, even my wife and I, we don't really care for liver. So we've had it added to a primal blend of ground bison. We had 5% liver, 5% heart. There is no difference in taste, but the nutritional benefits are significant.
I am going to make chili when we're done talking about the nutritional benefits, Greg and I. And when I make the chili, I do a little bit of what I'm going to call it stew beef, chunks of meat. And then I'm also going to do a ground meat. That's what I always do when I make chili. And when I do that, I'm going to use the burger that has the little bit of liver and the kidney in it.
Great.
I can't wait to do it. I'm jumping out of my skin to make chili using that. From a healthy heart standpoint, that's one of the reasons we talked about how you even got into this business, was you were having some health issues, and it's almost like a calling where you're going to do a lean protein for the United States, I wouldn't say the world, offering it to, because food is medicine.
Food is
right?
medicine.
Did we talk about that yet? Is that a term that now's a good time?
We haven't yet. Yeah.
Food is medicine. So even in my olive oil episodes, the people that were discussing the olive oil, if you had a chance to see those, please watch those, because Carl and Jonathan talked about the benefits of their product. And that's one of the things when you go to the website that Greg has. This isn't something that is new to him. This is something that he shares. Food is medicine. And I like to use that term both figuratively and literally. I'm such a foodie that for me, food is medicine because it's a tonic for my soul. It soothes me to cook. It soothes me to eat well. I like the flavors. I like doing new things. But let's just talk about the literal meaning of that as well. Food is medicine. And that is that it's the old lifestyle before we became industrialized. And that's how the people ate. And they knew. We'll talk about the Native Americans. We all know the stories about how they hunted the bisons. They followed the bisons. They didn't. Just food is medicine. So the bison itself, you guys, when you eat bison, so in particular bison from the Memphis. I got the name wrong that time. The Memphis Bison Ranch. And particularly when you eat bison from the Memphis Bison Ranch, you're eating your medicine. It's not just something you're taking that your doctor has prescribed. It's something that is in your diet. So back to heart health. Okay, I do understand there's a higher ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acids that helps reduce the risk of heart disease.
It's a balance, and the grass-fed bison, 100% grass-fed bison, has those two in balance better.
Okay.
And it is beneficial for us.
Okay. And I don't know enough about omega-3s and omega-6s. I'm learning. Anything in particular it's good for our heart? Anything that you can add about that?
It is good for your heart. That's something that I'm very aware of.
Yeah.
Just hit my mic. But that is something I'm very aware of, as over the years I've had some heart issues. I mentioned in the last episode that I had an emergency open heart surgery. I had mechanical heart valves before that. I had hypertension. I had a condition called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, where my heart wall was too thick and making my heart work harder. And so we've learned to be conscientious of what we're eating. Now, people come up to us and say, wow, you guys don't look that healthy. Well, maybe I'm not running marathons, maybe I'm not doing the boulder, but here I am in my 60s and I'm running a ranch. 12 years ago I had emergency open heart surgery. Here I am. Most people are looking at retiring, and we're still going at it.
Yeah, with no signs of letting up. Greg and I also talked. We shared some stories about as a man who grew up working in meat markets, gourmet meat markets, and then owned one for 10 years. There's a lot of physical labor that goes with that. And farming bison is ranching bison is something that really is just a lot of physical labor that goes with that. Cholesterol, and again, I'll just show the card again. There will be items on all these. We're talking about calories, fat, protein, iron, cholesterol. Those are all going to be on the card here again. On the back of the card, we talk about, this is interesting, many vegetarians. I'm going to get controversial here. Let's do it, Greg.
Let's do it.
Many vegetarians feel like maybe the Beyond Burgers and the Impossible Burgers are healthier. And I'm going to show the back of the card here where they're talking about what is in those particular products. And then we have here what's in the bison that Greg and Tami raise. And it says grass, sunshine, and water. So that's fun. So here we go. Back to the card. So follow along too. The things that we're talking about, they're also going to be mentioned in the card. It's not a direct one-for-one. There's a little bit of, we're going to talk about things that aren't on the card. There's things on the card we're not going to talk about. Cholesterol, right? I'm on a statin, although last time I got blood work, you guys, I've lost some weight. Very proud. It's a combination of a lot of things, including exercise and just living a healthier lifestyle and eating differently. All my blood work was good, and they're reducing my statin, with my intent being just 2 or 3 times a week instead of doing it every week. And my intent being I want to get off that statin. I feel like I'm healthier without it, but I'm following the doctor's orders now. So cholesterol is something we all talk about constantly. That's what our civilization, that's what our society discusses. And let's just talk about the cholesterol benefits of eating bison, maybe versus some other products.
A few years ago, we had a group of people come out to do a field harvest, and they invited several.
What does that mean, a field harvest?
Well, we actually went out and shot one of our animals, and then we had a butcher on site, and it was processed right here.
I see. All right, that's different than the processing we've talked about.
That is not something we normally do.
Okay.
That was a one-time special event that we did.
In my knowledge of what a field harvest is, that's when you're going to process some of your livestock on site. So instead of taking it off site to somebody who's going to process it for you, you're actually going to, that's what a field harvest is. I just want to explain, because I didn't know what that was. That's what it is. So you're saying you have people come out and do a field harvest. And we're talking about cholesterol. Bring it all together for me. Bring it home.
Well, that was a special event that was done. We don't normally do that, but there was a guest here. There was a cardiologist, and he calls himself the natural heart doctor. It is Dr. Jack Wolfson, and he is my cardiologist. And he is pursuing.
Out of the Fort Collins area?
He is actually out of Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay, wow.
But he'll work with people remotely too. And he is very good for people that don't want to go the normal allopathic route, the ones that want to get off their statins. Yeah. And he'll work with them. And one of the things that he really promotes is bison like ours, these really rich in nutrient proteins for our 100% grass-fed bison. Ah. And so, yeah, he was in the traditional medical field for many years and said, no, there's got to be a better way. And so
it just appealed to him to come to be part of the field harvest?
He was a friend of a friend and got invited to this. I did not know he was coming. And the more I talked to him, and we got to talking about my path with the mechanical heart valves. Yeah, I got the trophy scar, and there's a better way. And so we're pursuing that.
I like to call it the medical merry-go-round. And when you're in my family, we have a very specific term for it, and we're all trying to get off the medical merry-go-round in every way possible. I am, at least. I'm making a conscious effort. I may have mentioned this in other episodes. I moved from Michigan, the Midwest, to Colorado less than a year ago, and one of the reasons I made that move was I feel like I can manage my health better. In Colorado, I just feel like it's built into the environment, built into the society. And look, here we are.
Here we are.
Now we're going to talk about 2 more items to cover. Anti-inflammatory, in particular, something called conjugated linoleic acid. Do you think I said that right? CLA?
Linoleic, I think. Yeah. I could be wrong too.
Well, I get words wrong on a regular basis, so it's very possible. But CLA, I do know that in general, bison has anti-inflammatory properties, as does the olive oil that we talked about not too long ago. Quality olive oil, not the stuff that's been processed and heat treated. So just in general, and I was surprised that there's some anti-inflammatory benefit to bison.
Yes, there is. And it's one of those things that just adds up. And so you just, like my wife and I, we just, over the years, we've said, okay, we're not going to follow the standard American diet. So we're going to start pursuing these things, the less processed food, try to avoid those, eat better with bison, eat the good olive oils.
Yeah.
And yeah, am I perfect? No, but here I am.
Yeah, I love it. Final item we're going to cover on the nutritional benefits of bison before I make my world famous tequila bison chili.
That's anti-inflammatory, isn't it?
Tequila is definitely anti-inflammatory. Yes. Calls me out on that, I think. Well, it'd be less inflammatory with the bison than it would be maybe with the beef. Let's put it that way. So then we're going to talk about just hormones and antibiotic free. I'm going to before I let Greg finish this here. I want to talk about hormone and antibiotic free from my perspective as a former owner of a meat market. They're really family owned. That was in my family for 60 plus years. There are certain livestock that are mandatory, regulated to be hormone free. And this is true if it's a commercially raised bison or if it's the free range bison, which is a small ranch owner like Greg here. You are not allowed to put hormones in bison.
That is correct. It's federal regulation.
Something Greg didn't know is that you're also not allowed to, the USDA will prevent you from putting hormones in pork as well as in chicken. So I would chuckle all the time when I would go to a big box store and I would look at the chicken labels and they would say hormone free. Duh, every bit of chicken in the United States is hormone free, as well as pork. Pork is hormone free. You're not allowed. However, there's a very large commercial cattle industry, and I will say that hormones are allowed in cattle. So any bison is hormone free.
That is correct.
The antibiotics is very interesting because I will say Greg and I had a little conversation about this too, and I might be talking more than I anticipated here, and Greg might be just making sure I'm not saying the wrong thing. But as his cattle is free range on the 80 acres that they're on, they tend to be less congested as maybe some of the commercially raised livestock that are in the United States or maybe even other parts of the world. And as a result, they tend to have less of the diseases than maybe something that's more of a commercial or industrial raised livestock. And it could be across any of the beef, pork, lamb, bison, chicken.
Correct. Yeah, antibiotics are used to treat something that is wrong. And if you're in a clean environment, you're less likely to have those issues that require the use of antibiotics.
Wow, you said that better in 30 seconds than I did in 5 minutes. I love it. I love it. So, no artificial growth stimulants. The small farms, this is small ranches. They really are using less antibiotics. It just makes sense. And that's true. Again, I want to say it again across all the livestock. That's not just true of the Memphis Bison Ranch here. So those are, again, I'll just refer to the card one more time. Maybe we show it one more time. But those are some of the health benefits, nutritional benefits, not just to bison in general, because I want to elaborate. Bison has health benefits, and then when we go into the small ranches, the benefits of bison are amplified because of the free range component is what I'll call it. Did I miss anything?
I think you covered it well.
All right. I think we covered it well. I don't want to say that I covered it. I'm really following your lead. I just want to make sure we're staying on track. These are all things that we discuss, and really these are all things that are discussed on the website as well. Tell me the name of the website again.
You can go to primalbison.com, or that'll take you to our main website at memphisranch.com.
I do want to say again that there's a QR code you're going to be seeing on the screen right now too. You can click on the QR code. You can go to, that'll take you right to the website. You can do your ordering there. If you have questions, just know that this is the second of 4 episodes about bison in the Memphis Bison Ranch that Greg and Tami are running here. And I got to remember the name of the city I'm in, Carr, Colorado. You can either go back to the first episode where we already covered some of these items, or know that we're going to be picking them up in the later episodes as well. I am going to be making chili next, and if we don't have anything else, I'm going to go ahead and say cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Back in my Boulder, Colorado home, we are going to be making the Tequila Bison Chili. So here's what you need to know. There are ingredients. They'll be in the description below. I'm not going to go through every one. You do need to know that when I cook, and a lot of cooks are like this as well, I put everything in place prior to making my recipe. And there's a term for that. It's called mise en place. A French term. Just means you put everything in place. Now, I don't have it measured out yet. Some people will do that. There's basically 4 steps to the bison chili. First off, what you need to know is that when I make a chili, I do some ground beef, and I also do stew beef or chunks of beef. I believe it's more delicious that way. So the first thing I'll do is I'll brown my stew beef. The tequila really is just something fun. I will deglaze my stew beef after I brown it. And back here, you'll see 2 cups of the bison bone broth that I made earlier. And I will put after the stew beef has been browned in my Dutch oven, I will add the 2 cups of beef broth. That's why I put a beef broth in my chili, because I'm going to let that cook for an hour so that the stew beef will have a chance to become more tender. And then I'll work on everything else. So then the next thing I'll do is do my ground beef, and I'll do my vegetables. I'll mix those all together. And then I will add the next ingredients, which is kind of like the sauces and the seasonings. You will see through the recipe as I do this that I have canned diced tomatoes, but I also use whole tomatoes. I've said this before, I'm a very herbal cook, and I like to have a lot of fresh flavors in my food. And what I'll do with those is I'll boil them first. You don't have to boil them for more than 5 minutes, and then I'll peel them, and then I'll take that top vine part off, just cut it with a knife, and then I'll cut it into chunks. So I will have canned tomatoes as well as fresh tomatoes. Something else you'll see interesting here that's in my recipe you need to know, that's honey. I do put a couple tablespoons of honey in my chili. My chili tends to be spicy, and that helps soften it, for lack of a better term. What you don't see here on my counter right now is that, oh, and I don't use regular flour, I use a buckwheat flour. That's fine, it's my choice. I'm not gluten intolerant, but I at times, quite often, choose just to avoid gluten. So what you don't see right now are what I call my toppings. And my toppings I'll do at the end separately. I don't need to have those out right now. Okay, I'm gonna start browning the stew beef. So in the first step, I only have 1 pound of stew beef, by the way. I acquired 2 pounds, and I would usually put 2 pounds of stew beef in my recipe and 2 pounds of ground beef, or in this case, ground bison, or not stew beef, stew bison. I should put a pound aside though. I'm not gonna use it this time. I figure I'm going to make, now that I have so much bison broth, I'm gonna make somewhere down the road a bison barley stew. So I saved that pound of stew beef just for that. But you see here, what I'm doing is I'm patting it dry, and any good chef will tell you that you should pat your product dry, your protein dry, whether it's fish, chicken, and that helps with that Maillard effect that Greg mentioned previously in the episode, his first episode. So I'm going to pat that dry. Then also you see here my flour. Again, I used buckwheat flour. You could use normal. I put some seasoning in it already. I have something, if you shopped with me at the store back in Detroit, it was called Magic Dust, was their nickname for it. We sold it by the pound. It was wonderfully popular. It's just salt, pepper, garlic, and herb. But you try to season when you're cooking in every step. So one of the ways I'm doing it this time is I have a little bit of the salt, pepper, garlic, and herb inside my flour. And then here, again, I have all my pots out that are ready, or to be ready. This is my Dutch oven. I have my olive oil in here. You may remember me saying in past episodes, I used to saute with avocado oil because of the higher smoke point. And I've recently acquired, you'll see in my olive oil episodes, some high quality olive oil, high polyphenols, so much healthier for us. And it has a higher smoke point. So I've started sauteing in my olive oil, which is new to me. And then here I am going to be putting in my ground beef and my vegetables, my onion and my jalapeno and my red pepper. And this one back here will be what I am going to, like I said, just boil the tomatoes for 5 minutes so that you can then skin them. And you remember we saute an item to seal in the flavor is what we say when you're doing anything. If you're going to do, even when I do my bison barley soup, I'll saute the beef. And the flour, it thickens your sauce. It gives it a little more flavor. All the chefs in the world, though, will tell you that that's the way to do it. So I'm going to just, got some going on here. And then I'll eventually just throw it in here. I have this on medium. Oh, there we go. Until these are done. Here we go, locking in the flavor. We're not cooking the stew beef. I will cook the ground beef or the bison. If I use the word beef and bison, just bear with me, guys. I'm not cooking the bison stew. I'm just searing it, locking in the flavor. I'll be flipping it in a minute or two. Okay, I am officially seared. How am I going to get all those schnitzels off the bottom, you may ask? And this is secret ingredient number 1. Yes, I'm going to do this. A little bit of tequila. I would say that was a shot or two. And that's how I deglaze the bottom of my pan for my chili. You remember me saying that the stew beef is from the chuck or the round, and those are tougher cuts of meats. So this is something I'm going to braise for an hour. There's my super jiggly, you see that? My super jiggly bison broth. And then I'm going to put the lid on, and for medium low, I am going to let this just saute, and that's one of the ways you can get away with having chunky chili, is that you go ahead and you braise your chunks first. If you were going to use steak, if you were going to use sirloin or New York strip, you wouldn't have to do this, but that's not what I'm using. I'm using regular stew beef, which is the round in the chuck typically, and so I'm going to go ahead and cover this. Again, I cover again. I like to retain my moisture, and I'm going to start working on my next items, and I'm going to let this cook on medium-low for about an hour. While my bison chunks are braising, and I might even do it for an hour and a half. I'm in no rush. I'm probably going to serve dinner about 6 tonight, and the way I figure is I'll have the chili cook for an hour after I add all the ingredients. So I'm going to go ahead and braise my bison, my chunks, for about an hour and a half in the broth. You can see, oh, that looks good, doesn't it? So now I'm just cooking my ground beef and my onions. I will add then my red pepper and my jalapeno. I will leave my seeds in the jalapeno. I'm not afraid of a little bit of spice. And a lot of times I say 2 jalapenos in my recipe, but it was a big one today, so just 1 jalapeno is fine. And then back here, you'll see where I'm gonna blanch the tomatoes so I can get the skin off. I don't want to make it harder than it is. You just boil it in water for 5 minutes, and then you run it under cold water in your sink, and then you peel the skin off. It's that easy prior to cutting them and putting them into your product. I feel like the skin is a little chewy, and some people would even say acidic. And the reason I soften my vegetables with my ground beef is, again, that's the right word, soften. It gives it a little bit more flavor. I also will be adding, 3 more things. The reason I put my onions in, this is a little early for me. Usually I do the ground beef first. The reason I put the onions in, my onions have been chewy lately. I don't know if you're having the same thing. I buy organic onions, I made a pot roast last week and my onions were chewy. And so I thought maybe I did something wrong, and then I made a ham and cheese omelet with onions the other day, and my onions were chewy in that, even though I softened them. So knowing that, I don't know if it's a seasonal thing, I'm sauteing my onions with the beef, where you might remember that this beef has the kidney and the liver in it, 5%. I'm so looking forward to that. As Greg says, you can't taste it. So my 2 pounds of ground bison, my onions, my red pepper, my jalapeno is in there with the seeds. I just drained it. I always like to drain my ground beef before I add my garlic, because otherwise I feel like all the flavor ends up in the sink or in your trash when you're draining it. So I'm going to continue to let this cook down probably for another, 5 minutes or so. And then I'll go ahead and I'll turn it off and start working on other things. So here's what I have going on now. My tomatoes are suitably blanched, or boiled. Blanching isn't really the right term, it's close. I'm going to run those under cold water, and then I'll peel them and I'll chop them. And I'll put them in this container here that has my ground bison and my vegetables and my garlic. And you can see how this is going. I'm checking on it periodically. And that continues to look good, doesn't it? And I'm stirring that once in a while as well. Here's my peeled tomatoes. They just peeled right off, so easy. Like the beef, I did not cook the beef. I just seared it, more or less. When I first, remember when I did it in the olive oil with the flour. And that's what I did here to the tomatoes. I did not cook the tomatoes. I just brought the outside temperature to a high heat real quick so that I could peel them. And now I'll cut them up and keep going. Okay, here is my bison stew beef chunks. You can see that it is really tender. I cooked that for 1 hour and 15 minutes, maybe a little longer than that. This is my ground beef and my vegetables, including my chopped tomato that I threw on the top. I'm going to add that. And then I'm going to add the rest of these ingredients. You'll find the complete recipe in the description, a link to the recipe in the description. It's a PDF form that you can print out. Then I'm going to cook it for about 1 hour. So I'm at the 3rd step. Everything is now in the Dutch oven. Before I blend it, and I'm going to cook it for another hour, so it's about 4 o'clock, so I'll cook it until 5 o'clock. Hey, that'll be dinner time. There's a couple things you need to know. One is I did use chili powder, of course, but I used half chili powder and half chipotle chili powder. And I like a little bit more spice, and also there's a smoky flavor in chipotle chili powder, so that's the way I choose to do it that way. I also added a couple tablespoons of smoked paprika. I will say again, that's a flavor that I prefer, and that's why that it went in there. The third item is I added 3 cans of beans. You really need to know that I add my moisture from the beans. You've heard me over and over, especially when I'm cooking low and slow, that I like to have the moisture in my product. And one of the reasons you're told to drain beans before you add them is because of the sodium content. Well, I buy low sodium beans. And the other one is, in some recipes, you want beans, like for instance, a salad, that without the moisture. So for me, I'm a fan of the moisture, so the whole beans went in with the liquid and all. Let me go ahead and get stirring on this, and I'll keep you posted. So I brought the chili to a boil. I'm turning it down to medium-low again. I'll cover it. I'll leave it for an hour. Of note, I keep my spices out. You might remember what I said about how it's appropriate to season throughout the cooking process. In this case, I've seasoned 3 times. I seasoned when I added some seasoning to my flour, when I browned the bison stew. I added seasoning, I added garlic to my ground beef and my vegetables when I softened the vegetables and cooked the ground beef. And then I added the bulk of my seasonings when I put everything into the Dutch oven. So I will say this, that I will be checking on this periodically every 15 minutes or so. Stir it and I'll try it, and if there's something I feel that it needs, I'll go ahead and put it in. So that'll kind of be the 4th time that I do my seasonings. Looks good so far, guys, doesn't it? Oh, let's give it a stir. Let's see if I can do this. Yeah, obviously a red chili, not a green chili. We do green chilies in Colorado a lot. The bison stew sure is tender too. So you were right. They said it was tender, and it is. Okay, it's done. This is my last round of flavors or seasoning. I have a little bit of cilantro, some hot sauce I put in, some corn chips or Fritos, and I don't use sour cream. I use plain yogurt now, or in this case, actually an almond yogurt substitute. And I've tried it. It's delicious. Might be the best chili I ever made. There truly is a sweet or nutty component or flavor to it. Cheers.